Acts chapter 27, The Final Adventure, Part 1. This is the Mediterranean Sea. Well, this is the way it looks today. In the Apostle Paul's day, 2,000 years ago, it looked pretty much the same. The only difference is that some of the cities had different names. So let's get rid of these labels to start with. There we go. Much better. Now, what would it look like to actually sail on this sea? Here's a little snapshot. First, you want to make sure you stay as close to the coast as you can. You don't want to get too far out in the open sea where storms can get you. So you try to bounce along the coast from city to city. There will be times, however, where you do have to go out into deep waters. And those can look a little bit more like this.
Okay, you gotta lose it. You're gonna lift this lid, unscrew the barbecue, let it go. Lost the barbecue.
Okay. Enough messing around. Let's get back to our map, and let's convert it into a map that we can use tonight a little bit more easily. There we go. All right. Well, Paul is a prisoner here in Caesarea, and after 2 years just sitting there in that prison and 2 governors, Paul decided to push the golden buzzer. And that means he's got to be sent off to Rome to stand trial in front of the Caesar himself. Well, Rome is here. Paul is here. That's a long boat ride, guys. Boats in those days had no motor, so what do you think they used? Yep, they used sails. Sometimes rowers, but the ships Paul's going to use, grain ships and such, would be sails only. Now, the winds in the Mediterranean usually blow this way. And so if you're sailing from Rome to Caesarea or Alexandria by ship, with the winds helping you like this, you could do it in as fast as 8 days. But to go the opposite way, the way Paul's got to go, going against the wind, 8 days, no. 10 days, no. 20 days, no. Try more like 80 days. Okay, so actually it was somewhere around 50 to 70. But you get the point. This is going to be a long boat ride going against the wind. And you better make sure you get your sailing done before winter. What happened in winter? You die. Okay, you don't sail in winter. Your ship going to be destroyed. You going to die. All right? This is the shipping sailing calendar. Notice March and April are okay, but you better be careful. May, June, July, August were great. You sail all you want, no worries. But as it starts getting into fall, you better be careful. September was risky. October, really risky. And November, December, January, February, those straight up winter months, don't even think about it. You try to sail, you gonna die. All right? So that was the first hazard you had to watch out for while sailing. Don't sail, don't get stuck on the sea in winter. You better get where you're trying to go before winter sets in. All right, and remember I said this could be an 80-day trip. That's 2 or 3 months. So you better start somewhere over here, or over here, or over here. You better not be starting somewhere over here. You know what I'm saying? 60 days, 2 months. All right, that's danger number 1, winter. But there's also 2 more dangers, and I call them 2 nightmares for every sailor. Nightmare number 1 is called a northeaster. These were swirling, hurricane-force winds that blew from the northeast. Now that would blow you off course and into the open sea. And even more dangerous, those winds were so strong they could literally break your ship apart. I'm not talking about the sails and the masts. No, they could break the hull of your ship. That's the part you stand in. Okay? You don't want that happening on the sea, okay? They can literally break your ship apart. So watch out watch out for the northeaster. If you really want to feel like a nerd, you could look up Pliny's Natural History, Chapter 2, Section 132. He talks about that. Nightmare number 2 for every sailor, Syrtis, the sea's 200-mile hidden arms of death. Something like the Bermuda Triangle. This was an area you just didn't want to mess with. Bad stuff happened. Whatever you do, don't get pulled in by Syrtis. Today it's known as the Gulf of Sidra, and there's one other gulf. This was an area off the coast of Libya with about 180 miles of ridges that you can't see from the surface. But they're there, believe me, hidden beneath the water, like giant invisible arms just waiting for ships to get too close. And the water in that area actually swirls around and pulls you in as you get closer to it. Now, once you're in, it's game over. It's a combination of sand, mud, and seaweed, and plus those swirling currents and vortexes. They're going to grab onto you, and they ain't letting go. Another first-century traveler and speaker, Theo Chrysostom, said that those that sail into it, escape is impossible. There is no chance you'll ever get back out to sea. You can try to sail back out to sea, but it ain't happening. And then you might say, well, it's okay. We're kind of close to land, right? We're close to Libya. We can just sail to Libya. Nope, you can't sail that direction either. Your big old ship ain't going nowhere. You're trapped. The only hope you do is get into a lifeboat. Hopefully you have one. Most ships only had one, and they weren't that big. Or, more likely, by just swimming. Ever try swimming a few miles at a time? You know how exhausted you can get swimming out in the sun without any water to drink? And you might think, well, there's water all around, I can drink all I want. Nope, you're in the Mediterranean Sea. That's salt water. The old sailor saying would hold true out here in the Mediterranean if you got caught by the arms of Syrtis. Water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. One of the biggest fears in that situation was dying, actually, of dehydration. But even if you survived, best case scenario, it was a major headache. So, if you're going to try to sail the seas of the Mediterranean, you better watch out for winter, you better watch out for the northeasters, and you better watch out for Syrtis. Last week, Paul pushed the golden buzzer, and so he's on his way to Rome by ship, but he could never have imagined the craziness that was about to go down. This is Acts chapter 27, Final Adventure, Part 1. What's up, scary ghost people from the future? How you doing there in 2020 there in America? How's life in America these days? Well, you guys seem awfully quiet. Boy, something must be going on. Well, are you ready for an adventure? How many of you guys like sailing adventures? Good, because I got a huge one for the message tonight. This is Acts chapter 27 in my account. This will be Final Adventure, Part 1. As you guys know, last week, Paul pushed the golden buzzer. So that means he's got to get on a ship and be sent straight to Rome where he can see Caesar, have his trial, and get some justice, right? So now, he's got to get to Rome. So, of course, he's on a ship with a bunch of other prisoners, right? Paul's a prisoner. And so you got to have army people on this ship. Can't just be like a sailing ship, or just a grain ship with normal sailors. You got to have some Roman soldiers on this ship to guard them. And they put one guy in charge, a special member of the emperor's special army, a guy named Julius.
Legionaries, salute your new centurion!
He was in charge of 80 men, called a centurion. Julius was in charge of this trip and all the prisoners, including Paul. So, I'm going with Paul, So I got on the ship too. Me and Paul, we got on this ship. We're in Caesarea, got on a ship that was coming from Adramyttium on its way north to the cities of Asia, and that's where we were going. So we got on the ship and started sailing north. The next day, we came to the city of Sidon. We just hugged the coast and came to Sidon. Now, this time of year, as you know, the winds are going to be coming this way. So this was easy. Straight north was very easy. And there in Sidon, Julius and Paul kind of hit it off, all right? They kind of connected with each other. And Julius actually really respected Paul and came to trust him. And so this may sound crazy to you, but we got to the city of Sidon, and we had a few hours to kill. And Julius told Paul, hey, Paul, if you want to go see your friends in the city, I know you got friends here, that's fine. Go see them. Just be back here in a few hours. So Paul did. He went and visited his friends. They provided him with some of his needs. And then he came back to the ship as promised. I mean, when does that happen? When do you let a prisoner go free and just tell him, come back in a few hours? But Paul was a man of honor, and he knew that. And so, yeah, that was just a little something to happen inside. And so we got back in the ship. Again, we're sailing close to the coast. Just try to sail as close to the coast as we can so we don't get pulled out to sea by any weird winds, right? So we sailed close to the island of Cyprus, and the wind, guys, was blowing against us. And we were wasting a lot of time just trying to get up north and a little bit west on our way. So we went across the sea by Cilicia and Pamphylia, and finally we came to the city of Myra. And we wasted a lot of time up to this point, but we got to Myra against the wind, but we got there. And there was a giant grain ship. I'm talking a big one, and its destination, Italy, which is where Rome is. So Julius said, guys, this is our ship. So we got off the first ship, got on the second one, and this was a big honker of a ship. There was 276 of us on board, as well as a bunch of grain. This was a cargo grain ship, giant one. So we got on it, and we started sailing. And guys, it was slow. That wind was busting our chops. I mean, it was slow going. And it was hard. The next city was Cnidus, and it was hard to get to Cnidus. That wind was pushing. So we decided, you know what, we would like to go straight west, but we can't because the wind was kind of coming from that northwest, which was normal for that time of year, right? We knew it was going to be hard. But we wanted to go straight west because of that wind. We decided, all right, let's go south, and let's get underneath that island of Cyprus. And that island of Cyprus can act like a giant wall blocking some of that wind, so we can kind of scoot behind the island and we'll be able to make a little progress. So that's what we did. Went to the south. Sorry, not Cyprus, Crete. Cyprus was the first island. We were past that. I'm not a sailor. I'm a medical doctor. I got all my notes, so I'm going to keep this together. But yeah, Crete. So we went to the south side of the island of Crete near Salmone. And we sailed along the coast, guys, but it was hard. So far, it only been a few weeks. We should have been way further in our journey by this point. But there in Crete, we got to a city, a little town, a little harbor place, not really a full-on harbor, but it was called Fair Havens. Okay, a little port. And we stopped there at Fair Havens, and that's where we had to make the most important decision of the chapter tonight. Okay, this was the place where we had to decide, all right. We should have already been a lot further toward Italy by now, and all we are is at Crete. It's like less than halfway there, and the hardest part is the next part where you have to sail across the open waters to Italy. And it's getting close to winter. All right, so this next decision would change everything. The decision was, do we want to just stop here on Crete and stay here for the winter? And then we can go back to Rome in March. Yes, that's 5 months. I know that's sitting here is only around October, all right? But it's better than getting stuck out in the water in the middle of winter and dying, okay? So that's my opinion, medical doctor, not sailor. But that was my 2 cents on the matter. Because, yeah, it was already right around October. It was the Jewish feast of Yom Kippur was already over. I mean, we're getting late in the sailing season. And I think maybe I could put the sailing calendar up on the screen or somebody can help. Yeah, October, this is where we were at. And the trip to Rome is a 50 to 70-day trip. All right, and we should have already been a lot closer, but we were still only here at Crete. So we got probably 35 more days of the hardest part still ahead of us. And it's already October, you know what I'm saying? So as you can see, and Paul stands up and gives a warning, okay? And Paul says, men, I can see that we're in trouble on this trip. And that if we keep going, the ship is going to be lost totally. It's going to be destroyed. And even our lives might be lost. And Paul said that. And Julius, like I said, Julius respected Paul. And Paul wasn't no sailor. The sailors, including the ship owner and the captain, said, you know what? Winter is coming, but we're already at Fair Havens. Just a few hours west of here, there's a harbor town, a little harbor called Phoenix. And it's got a strong harbor where our ship would be safe all winter. why don't we just see if we can get a few more, because Fairhaven didn't have a harbor that was good for spending the winter in. You could just come there for a little while, but not to spend 5 months. But Phoenix had a good, strong harbor they could stay at. So the captain and the owner was like, you know what? It's just a few hours down the coast. We won't try to go to Italy. We will stay on Crete for the winter. But let's just try to get a few hours further. Get down to Phoenix. All right? Just a few hours. Just hug the coast. Won't do nothing crazy. And we'll get there. And everybody decided that's what they wanted to do. And so we set sail, and we felt a little south wind come. We could feel a breeze change a little bit to the south wind, which was perfect. That will help us just hug the coast. You just don't want any crazy winds carrying you out into the sea. All right, south wind was perfect. So we said, let's go right now. And we went. Now Paul and I didn't say. We said, let's stay. But they said, let's go. So what are we gonna do? So we went. We set sail very slowly from Fairhaven to Phoenix, and then, guys, boom, it hit us. It slammed us. A hurricane force wind from the north and from the east. Boom, slammed us, grabbed onto us, ripped us away from that shore, and all the sailors on that ship immediately knew this was the nightmare of the sea. This was, no doubt about it, a northeaster. Now, if you want to see a sailor sweat, watch what happens when a northeaster grabs a hold of them. Guys, forget about landing at Phoenix. We ain't going to make it to Phoenix this winter. We were already knocked way out south in the sea. When that kind of a wind gets a hold of you, you can move and move fast. And we were being pushed. It was carrying us, guys. It was pointless to try to fight it. The northeaster is so strong. It grabs on our ship. It can just blow our ship around like it's just a little toy ship in a bathtub. So we didn't even try to fight it. It blew us just south. Now, there was a little island out there called Cauda, and when it blew us south of the island of Cauda, that little island kind of blocked the wind just for a few minutes. We just had a little bit of time where it wasn't quite as strong. So what we did is, we were dragging our lifeboat behind us. That's how you did it back then. The lifeboat, you didn't have it on board. It was dragged behind you with some ropes in the water. And so we said, we need to get that thing in and get it in now. So this little island of Cauda gave us a few minutes, and everybody went and just we were pulling on that rope. I got my first blisters right then and there helping pull that rope in. We got the lifeboat in, barely. And then, but yeah, it was hard. So this was nightmare number 1, the northeaster. And northeasters, guys, as you may know, can literally rip a ship like ours apart. Just rip it into splinters. So the men, what they did, they had this way of tying cables around the ship to kind of keep it strong. These really strong ropes. And so he did that, tied the ropes around the ship. But not only was it nightmare number 1, that northeaster, we also had a major problem, and that is that wind was pushing us literally straight towards the Syrtis. Those arms of death out there in the sea off the coast of Africa. Literally, we were on a trajectory right towards Syrtis, and it was blowing us out there. So that was nightmare number 2 that we had going on. All right. So the men, what they did was they decided, you know what, let's get rid of some of the equipment. They dropped some of their equipment out into the sea, some kind of sea anchor. I'm not exactly sure because I'm not a sailor, but they dropped some of the equipment out there, and it was kind of meant to like stabilize the ship and kind of resist some of the wind a little bit to kind of slow down how fast this wind could carry us straight to Syrtis. But the wind kept pushing us south and west, right towards Syrtis, the exact place we don't want to go. And so what we try to do is try to turn the ship hard to the right. The wind's pushing us southwest. That's that northeast wind blowing us towards the southwest, straight towards Syrtis. We try to turn the ship and just to try to force it to go west and not go south that much if we could, but it was really hard. And we tried, if we could, just try to get a little bit back up north because that's where we wanted to go. But mostly we were just going sort of straight west, and it was pushing. It was hard. So day 2, the hammering continued of the storm. Now at this point, the men started throwing over some of the cargo, and that's the grain. And that may not seem like a big deal to you guys, but guys, that was their money. Their money was taking this grain 60 days up to Rome, up to Italy, and selling it. That was their cash. That was their money. And they were like, you know what? At this point, we just got to survive. So that showed how serious they were. Day number 2, threw out some of the grain. Day number 3, storm still hammering us. At this point, the sailors were getting desperate. All right, so they started throwing out most of the ship's equipment at this point. The storm, guys, pounded us. Day 4, day 5, day 6. And it was so bad it was dark at night because the clouds were covering the stars. And you guys, when sailors can't see the stars, they start freaking out because the stars for them, that's their maps. That's how they know where they are. They couldn't see the stars, guys, for a whole week by day 7. And even during the daytime, it was so dark. The sun, we had problems tracking where the sun even was. So these guys, I mean, this wasn't just bad, guys. This was like really, really bad. It wasn't just a northeaster, and it wasn't just Syrtis. But guys, we were coming right into the smack dab heart of winter. And we're not any closer to Rome. We're going to be stuck out here in the winter. And at this point, by day 6, 7, 8, okay, of this storm just blasting us, we don't know where the heck we are in the Mediterranean Sea. We're out there somewhere, just trying to fight to not go too far south to get into Syrtis, but we're out there. And at this point, guys, these men, it's strange when this happened, but these men knew, yeah, we're pretty much going to die. Like, they couldn't even think of a way they could possibly survive this. These guys were veteran sailors, and they knew they were going to die. Guys, I tell you, it was a weird feeling on that ship. There was just the whole atmosphere kind of changed and sunk. And it's just this weird atmosphere when you're with men and all of you know you're going to die. I can't put it into words, but it's creepy and weird and quiet. You see sailors get quiet. Like, there was no jokes, no laughing, none of the sailor songs. I mean, this was bad. This was really, really bad. The men even stopped eating. You know, now you're rocking so much on the sea with the waves, your stomach's kind of sick anyways, but still you're hungry, especially by day 7, day 8 without food, you're hungry. You know, guys, sometimes, you know, in life, you make plans, and then life has a way of coming alongside and just kicking your plans right in the teeth. It's real. It gets rough. It gets raw. Paul and Dr. Luke are cold, wet, hungry, exhausted, and caught in a northeaster somewhere in the Mediterranean. And along with 274 other soldiers, sailors, and prisoners, they're in a fight for their life. This is Acts chapter 27, the final adventure, to be continued next week.